Hello and welcome to DM&D here on the Tumble Tankard server, YouTube channel, and all that fun stuff here. I am Jim,
Woo.
aka Argent Wind, and this is our first time here in a little while. We've had a lot of scheduling issues and just um, interruptions and illnesses and all kinds of stuff here. But we are back and glad to have you here. Glad to be back and to hang out with you. Hopefully, you're all out there checking things out and having a good a good time out there. Today we are talking about, well, something new. Um, and the whole reason for this show is there's always those times when either through feeling burned out, through a campaign ending, through player schedules not meshing up anymore, and something needs to change, you find yourself needing to do something, well, new. And we've talked in the past a number of times about how to start up a new campaign, how to deal with a hiatus and then come back from hiatus, how to bring in new players. And all of those things kind of mesh into this thing here. But sometimes it's time for a change, or it's just something to look into, or something you want to try to bring some fresh content to your friend group or to your game group or whatever that is. So really, this is about some ideas around how to generate something new, how to get something new going, and maybe some places for inspiration for that. Um, Part of this reason this hit me is I actually recently uh, rolling through TikTok and everything else, and I do a lot of D&D content here, and I ended up catching a video about a gaming group that had been playing for 30 years, a 30-year campaign. And these guys have been playing weekly, regularly for 30 years straight in this campaign. And their characters were of the old school D&D. I think they're back in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And of course, they were uber powerful, ridiculously strong, taking on like godly enemies and everything else like that. And the situation arose where the group was warned by the DM that they were coming up against something really, really difficult. And there was a very real chance that one or more of the party members could die. Um, and through the fight, uh, it came down TPK. Level 20, maxed out, crazy, powerful party was all wiped out. Well, that meant that something new had to happen. And what this guy did here is preparing for this. He had actually given every player an envelope, and the envelope had information like in case of TPK, read your envelope there. And essentially, what ended up happening is they started a new campaign. They started up a brand new campaign with first level characters, doing all new stuff, in the same world. But I believe he said if I remember correctly here, it was some time had passed. The bad guy won. The party had lost. And these people were now new characters in the same world that were dealing with something new in the world. Um, Potentially, maybe going and finding those lost heroes down the way to save them or bring them back or do something here. But again, it is a brand new campaign. And while some people are like, "Oh my gosh, how can you just let that happen here?" Well, it's something. It was time for a change. It was something they were all prepared for, all they knew that it could happen, and so it breathed new life into a long running campaign. And that's something to consider. Is it something has gotten to the point where, yeah, bad guys won? It's always nice to hear. Sometimes the bad guys got to have their day, right? No, not always, but the idea that this allowed a brand new campaign in the same world in this case. So uh, allowed to bring new life into the gaming group and try something new. Still something they were familiar with, still something they loved and were a part of, but with some new content and some new faces, which is it's a lot of fun. Can definitely keep things fresh and keep things moving along. But you may find that for whatever reason, that something new is needed for your game. Um, so that's one thing. The option there is taking the game, same campaign world, same world building, especially if it's your own custom world, and maybe doing a new campaign in a different part of the world, a totally separate region in the world, or a different continent, or something else, where it's new sights, new sounds, new places and people to deal with. And you can it also fleshes out your world and lets you grow and make it into even more of a dynamic place. Um, You can also, in the same ideas, move to a different time period in the future or the past. Again, same world, similarities, enough the players are going to know, going to recognize things, but with um, enough differences to keep it distinct from the current campaign that you're wrapping up or something else. So we have a person right here who loves running uh, multiple campaigns in the same world at the same time. So it's back and forth all the time with different things and new people here. Um, it would be our producer there, Nans, is has been doing that, is doing that twice now with the same world, two different campaigns going. So that's another way to kind of keep things going here is having that different times, different places in the same world. Now, the other consideration is, well, maybe you want to switch it up to a different campaign world, try a different setting. There's lots of different campaign settings boxed, or maybe you've been playing um, you've been playing in like Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms if you're playing D&D, or you're playing in a specific setting like a Shadowrun kind of thing, but you wanted to do something else in the same system but a different setting. Maybe your own homebrew setting. It's always a great way to as you're developing your own kind of things there, you can try your hand at building a new world. Um, so that's another option there, and it's something you can just kind of ease your way into, spend your time, and eventually uh, getting a chance to explore that type of things as a game master, creating your own world or creating multiple worlds. And sometimes there can be some crossover from one to another, but there doesn't have to be. Um, you want to consider then is what what's going to make it fun for you and your party? What's going to be interesting for you and kind of keep things going? And it may be you're playing with a different group. That's again a change you can deal with, a different group of people. Um, Maybe some players the same, some players are not. But again, breathe new life into a game and keep things going here. Now, uh, the other thing you consider is if you really want to mix things up, try a new genre. If you've been playing high fantasy, maybe playing a gritty survival fantasy game, or jumping from fantasy to sci-fi, or to cyberpunk, or to um, a modern day setting, or a Call of Cthulhu type game, a horror type game. You can really change up the genre, and uh, the genre can change. Now, I will say to be careful of this is when you're changing genres, a lot of times it necessitates a change of systems because I've seen people try to make D&D, this D&D system, and try to make a sci-fi game out of it, or to make a Western game out of it. And you can do that, but it sometimes can feel very forced. You end up having to do a lot of things to D&D to force it into a different shoebox. When I play a Western game, well, there's gun rules, but Westerns don't really have a place for the magic spells you would expect to see in a D&D game, especially the high-level magic spells. It's going to be more of a low-level survival type run and gun, shoot 'em up kind of game like that. It doesn't really when you have people that can teleport and throw giant fireballs around and everything else that and do rays of death and everything else, it doesn't quite fit. So you do a lot of modification to D&D to make it work into other systems. So with that in mind, that's why I say a different system might be best. If you want to play a system, if you want to play in a horror game, for example, Call of Cthulhu is a great one. World of Darkness for more of a vampire werewolf kind of thing like that. Um, just a different system can make it easier to move into that. Sometimes you want to do a different style in the same, also in fantasy. So things like doing it into things like uh, a fate system game lends itself to a lot of different genres. So it's again more of a generic thing. Cypher is another great system um, for changing different genres up there. Hero and GURPS have conversions to any genre you want to play in. So sometimes the system can make it easier to change genres. So we've talked about different systems out there. But something you want to consider if you are looking at the fantasy game there, want to try things out here, and this is not a plug, although it is kind of. Critical Role's Daggerheart just came live, and it's in the open beta playtest right now. So you want to try a totally new fantasy style game, that's a good option. There's friend of the channel here and a member of our server here, Dennis, OKSDM, has his Sagas game with all different things going on there. Uh, it's literally lends itself to any genre, any system. So that's another great thing to do. To try out something new, try out a different system entirely. So it can be a little intimidating, but there's a lot of tutorials, a lot of things you can find online for how to play these different games. You can always find guides and everything else for people, and then watch some actual plays of some of those games. Um, Sometimes you may consider, if you want to shake things up a little bit, is just create a one shot, especially in a new system. Some great one shots. Mention Call of Cthulhu, excellent for one shots. It's not meant for campaign play, or not really. It's a horror game. Everyone's going to die or go insane, or the world's going to end. But it's going to be a fun time while you're doing it. Um, Another great game for one shots. You want to mix things up and try something different there. Try Paranoia. Paranoia is a hilarious game of backstabbing, dystopian future. Computer controls everything, but it's just a silly, goofy game to play. Um, I've never seen a Paranoia game that didn't dissolve into just a lot of laughs. So definitely something else to try there. Um, so again, jump to a different genre, jump to a different system, and you can try something that you've never seen before. Um, this may also be a chance to, in your circle of friends, in your gaming groups, give somebody else a chance to run. Take a break for a little bit to have somebody else run either a short campaign or a one shot or a series of one shots. Maybe branch out into a totally different campaign so you have more games going. We're always doing that on our channel here with new games popping up there. People trying to run different games. In fact, I believe right now we have someone's been doing a one shot for a Transformers game. Very fun. Right now, genres we've got going. I know we have Shadowrun games. We have Traveler games, so sci-fi. We've got multiple D&D games in different various systems. Um, what else do we have? I think there's a interesting an Animon game, which is very much like a Pokemon style type game with a very different look and feel to it. Um, but yeah, again, there's so many genres out there, so many different things to try, so many different things to check out and have fun with. Or if you're really ambitious and want to go crazy, I've got a number of friends that create their own systems. Not only a genre, but a totally new system. Um, I'm playing in a game with a friend of the show, Zach. He's running a game in a totally homebrew system he's created. I played in a homebrew system from a friend of mine, some other friends of mine, and I mentioned KSDM's Sagas. There's homebrew systems out there, and they can be as complicated or as simple as you want to make them. But it's something to try at some point. When you want to really go off into new territory, is try making a system that fits the genre or style of game you want to play. There's so many things out there, and so many things to give a try with. Um, let's see here. And as I mentioned earlier, there sometimes um, to shake things up, to try something new here, is just to try a different group of people. I'm not saying you should abandon your game group to do that. If you want to try a second game with a different group of people, or if you have a different time to play, different night to play, it's fun to try different mixes of people and different mixes of players. Whether you're running or playing, it can make a lot of. It can really give some fresh ideas and different perspectives on your own game by seeing how other people are running and playing. So I definitely encourage you, if you have the time, the bandwidth there, to try multiple games. And even if it's a short thing, even a couple of one shots here, it's always fun to try something different with some different folks. Um, so some things to consider when jumping into something new is give yourself some time. You don't want to rush it. There's no reason to just jump right in. I mean, there is an aspect of being able to, like, hey, I want to just run something off the cuff and just try something and see what works there. That can be fun as well. But go into it with that expectation of this is going to be sort of an improv thing. We're going to be fast and loose with stuff here. But when you can, though, if you really want talking about a campaign, definitely spend the time to flesh it out. Um, to um, to give you that opportunity to be prepared, to know what you want to do, to know what's out there. And when you feel ready, it can start small and build. A lot of campaigns do. So when you're planning something new, there definitely give it a try and just see with a little bit of a uh, you start small and build up. We talked about building world building and campaign building. This is kind of how to do things. You don't need to plan an entire planet full of adventures to start something new. It can just be, hey, there's this story idea I have. Let's see how this goes. Let's see uh, how this story plays with a different group with a different group of people. How this plays out. You can replay things that happened in your own game. I did that with our Halloween one shot. They're having a haunted house game. It was literally in our campaign, but turned it into a one shot for a different group of people. A lot of fun, very different way to go, but it can be based on something you've already done and try something new. I mentioned this before, but Avarice itself that I'm running right now started as was a different campaign, some similar NPCs with similar locations the first time around, and the players from that campaign are actually the characters from that campaign are actually NPCs in the current campaign. Um, but that's where you have uh, again, something new that came from something old, kind of recreating and retrying things. That's always a good fun thing there. Uh, and I'm seeing in chat here, yes, currently on Tumble Taker, we have D&D, Pathfinder, Traveler, Animon, Starfinder, Shadowrun, and a D20 base game. Um, also a Call of Cthulhu one-shot. So, yeah, a lot of different variety, and we're always looking for more. So you want to do some more? Definitely uh, feel free to bring in new content and try something different. We can always find more players and get things going here. So if you are looking to do something new, let us know. We'll set you up. Um, but I mean, as I kind of point to the wall behind me here, this is my D&D shelf. Everything else on the shelves below are other systems and other genres. Everything from um, modern day fantasy fate system to some familiar things like Star Wars and Serenity. Um, a big Shadowrun section over here, Hero and GURP and Cthulhu and a lot of different systems that are out there. There's so many things, different campaigns. Um, it's definitely something to for every idea you want to do. There's something out there that will lend itself to it. So if you're looking for suggestions, check out your local game shop. Go online and check out just do a Google search for RPGs for fantasy, RPGs for sci-fi, and I'll give you some suggestions and kind of maybe some pluses and minuses on how they go. Uh, so definitely ask around, check it out, do a little bit of research there, and you never know if you can ever get a chance to go to a gaming convention. I highly recommend trying out games you haven't done before. I've played in many Cthulhu games. I've played in some interesting homebrew games at cons. I would never know about Battle Stations, one of my favorite little games here. If I hadn't been to a con, that's where I learned about that, and I've been a big fan of it ever since. So, um, when you're looking at inspiration there are plenty of places to find it, either online or talking with some friends that have played some other games, some more experienced players and uh, long running gamers that are out there. And then yeah, gaming conventions, a great place to find new content and try new things. Okay. So what kind of questions do you have out there? I know we have a pretty small audience right now, but what kind of questions do you have in terms of I know one of our people right there is currently running his first campaign. It's a series of one shots, as he's been saying it there. But what sort of things have you run into in starting something new, or any questions you have about starting things that are new? Go ahead and throw them my way. And while we wait for that here, a good sort of inspiration there, if you want to potentially maybe run a campaign in existing, uh, yeah, is one shot turned into a mini series exactly. So again, that's something new you tried out there turned into something more, and can kind of go from there. But in terms of finding inspiration for these new ideas, look toward your favorite books, look to your favorite games, look toward other games or your favorite movies or shows. There's a lot of fun, inspirational content for new things from those sources. If you really love a certain book series, chances are other people that love it as well have adapted it somehow to a role playing game that you can find online, or if you want to try making your own, you can do that as well. Or taking that idea and working it into an existing system that's out there. Um, if you want to run a game based in a spy type game based on the show Chuck, there are different game systems out there that could do it. Um, So, uh, definitely give it a shot. I mean, you never know what's out there. There's Spycraft, which is a modern D20 based type system. There's lots of adaptations for Hero and GURPS for doing spy type things. There's lots of fun ways you can go about making a game in almost any genre or any style of any world or show you can find. Um, so, uh, So as Dallas pointing out here, getting complicated with rule interjections. Tries with the player save it, solve later, like it's overwhelming. It can be, absolutely. And that's where you have to realize that you're not going to know everything, especially in the heat of the moment. You can literally, somebody wants to do something there, and rather than getting bogged too much down by the rules, have do something that's fun in the moment, and then go back afterwards saying, okay, how would I make that? How are we going to rule this moving forward? If it's something, and is communicate to the players when you try something new. If a player is trying something new in the game, there, unless it's like absolutely, if they don't know how it works and they're asking you, they want to do something new with an ability they've got or a spell they're kind of casting or a situation that's arising here. Have fun with it, let it go, and then kind of just work it out later on, and maybe before the next game, saying, "Hey, we're not going to do that every time, but this is how it's going to work moving forward." And hopefully, your players are going to be understanding of that because we kind of we can get bogged down in the rules, but we can also have fun with bending them a bit there and trying things things that are it's a little bit different from as they're written there. Again, it's about being fun. What's going to be fun? Um, but yeah, it can be overwhelming, but I would say just relax, have fun with it, do what's fun in the moment, and then bring it back around to discuss maybe next time saying, hey, how it works in this one situation here, that's kind of an exception. Here's how it's going to work moving forward. So a way to deal with that. But yeah, it's a good thing to bring up and look into. And Sora, yes, so the Heroes of the Grimm from Once Upon a Time in the Grimm shows, and kind of being the Grimm's fairy tales, kind of like that. Great, a tremendous amount of content there and different ways you can go about it. And there have been many takes on that, so it's fun to kind of take your own spin and your own way of turning that around. We've seen so many different variations of that, but that's what makes it fun is that you take something familiar enough that you can kind of go, I know where this is going, but take it in a new way or put a new spin on it or a new coat of paint on it. It's so much fun to take something old, something borrowed, and make it into something new. So, as the old wedding fans go there. Um, so exactly. So it's great to see familiar content brought out in a new in a new and exciting way. And that's where the creativity yeah, currently in Sleepy Hollow. It's so much fun, and it's a great way to take something that people know and put a different spin on it. And that's again the best feeling when you get those moments of like, I know where this is going, or how is this different, or how is it this way? Because there's so many variations in these tales. You can't say no one can tell you you're doing it wrong because they've been retold so many different ways by so many different people that you have your own spin on it, and that's a great feeling. It's a real a lot of fun to deal with there. Um, so I highly recommend if you ever have that inkling of taking something that's existing and putting your own spin on it. It's a lot of fun to play with. Um, so um, this is where I mentioned the game here that Zach is running here is Red Rock Shadow. Um, uh, oh, good question here. I'll come back to in just a moment here. Um, Red Rock Shadow is something familiar. It's it is a weird setting, which is Zach is famous for. But it literally is a game that's set in like some sort of war torn World War One trench warfare type of thing like that. There's these all these different nations at war that have similarities to different countries that existed during World War One time period, but it's just it's a fantasy spin on this thing. But it brings in a lot of horror elements and weird, cosmic, strange horror type things in a way that Zach is just a master of. Um, but it's his own system that he developed from this concept of how of just a simple little concept there and blew up into a whole new type of world here. So you find a little nugget of inspiration in something there, let that grow into a whole new game. It can into an existing one, or if you're really ambitious, do a whole new system as well. Um, Specific websites I hit for inspiration. I don't have any specific websites. Like I said, I do sort of like general searches or go on YouTube or hear things like that. So I don't have any specific websites I go to for the inspiration for that. It's just sort of searching in the moment. Like if I have an idea of like, hey, has anyone out there tried to run a Mass Effect game? Because there's no Mass Effect is one of my favorite video games of all time, and it's a great game with a lot of lore, but I've never seen. There's no official Mass Effect role playing game out there. But there've been a lot of different people out there go out there and have written up like a Mass Effect. They did Mass Effect in D&D system there. Again, that was one of the ones that had to completely overhaul all of how D&D works and how all everything works there. But it has the same. It's a D20 system that is very similar, has similarities to D&D. But then I've seen people making Mass Effect as more of a traveler type game. I was making Mass Effect as a battle stations game. I actually have the notes I've written up for it, but I never got a chance to run it. Um, but it's um, definitely a something to do is if you have an idea, go online to see if maybe it has had the similar idea. I'm sure somebody out there has. Or if you can find an actual published thing and say, hey, this is cool. I'm not sure I like all of it, but I can still use it as an inspiration for what I want to run. Like I said, if you want to run a Serenity game, I've seen Firefly done in I've seen Firefly done in battle stations. I've seen Firefly done in a D&D style. I've seen Firefly done in Traveler. I've played a Traveler game that was basically Firefly. Um, and some other genre other systems as well can fit for that as well. But somebody out there has similar ideas that can might be able to help you get to flesh that out and get something going on that. Um, so again, not any specific website. It's just sort of a general. I mean, just there's a lot of places to go. Now, if you want just a general ideas, uh, if you're looking for just different uh, I don't have anything bookmarked off the top of my head here, but things like there'll be I've seen different creators out there that'll create like uh, a list of adventure hook ideas. You can put it just search in for D&D adventure hook, and they'll have like different ways or campaign ideas, and they'll list a whole bunch of just like seeds of what could be a campaign or ideas of what could be an adventure at least, or the idea of maybe an adventure within the campaign. So there's a lot of that out there. So don't be afraid to use that resource there. There are people that have a lot of suggestions out there, some great ones. Um, that's a good way to go to do something like that. Um, if you're looking for ways of um, finding a new like NPC for your game or anything else, again, random generators out there. Where do I have that? I've checked these things out here, but something like this, the non-player character cards. It's a whole set deck of cards with different um, literally like names, random names, professions, traits, goals, personalities, relationships, quirks. Each has a deck of cards. You just draw a deck of cards out there and just boop, 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 and you have an NPC. Um, you can get some weird ones that way, but but it does work there. I actually have a number of NPCs in my games where I started off with just like making 5 or 6 people using these cards. So this is um, a company did this one here. Metal Weave Games created this non-player character cards. Fun little setup here. I've seen random generators online for generating NPCs that can be put there. Same thing can be to generate locations or to generate adventure hooks, things like that. There's a lot of different things out there that can do that for you as well. So anything you can imagine, you can find somebody online has done something to help you out in that aspect there. Um, Sometimes if you're lucky enough to be able to play in person with folks here, or if you have an online site here, sometimes you may want to take a break from a role playing game to play some sort of adventure board game. There's other fun board games out there that maybe don't have a full like they can scratch that itch of something to take a break with. Um, I know people that are playing Gloomhaven, Frosthaven. Those are like ongoing legacy style campaign type board games um, that kind of get some pretty interesting lore. In fact, I believe coming out soon is going to be an actual. I don't know if it's going to be a role playing game, its own system, or a guide for D&D or something else like that. But Gloomhaven is an amazing campaign world. Really rich lore, really interesting characters, very different feel from a lot of other games. Keep an eye out for something like that too. If you wanted to break it up into something really different, as I mentioned, Dagger Heart's just come out. Sagas is just out. And there's always new. There's lots of Kickstarters for all different kind of campaign worlds and different supplements for different games, especially D&D. There's a lot of them out there. So I've seen people do a lot of things. We're taking a campaign supplement or just even like a third party D&D system and using that as the basis for a new game or some new classes within a game or new races and spells and magic and else in a game there. That can really fuel an inspiration for something new in a campaign or a game world. So again, so many sources for inspiration out there. So don't be afraid to try something different. Uh, yeah. Um, that's a lot. Any other questions out there you guys have? If you want to throw out there. Do you think starting out as a new DM should start by using a mod? Um, I'm not sure I understand that. So using a module. It's not a bad way to go. Your first time, there's pluses and minuses to it. I will say, there's a great story from Brendan Lee Mulligan about his first time running a module, and he was running a game where the players were supposed to do something and they didn't do it. And so within the first session of playing, had to throw out the adventure and wing it on his own and do his own thing like that. So that can be a very tricky thing that some of the published campaigns or published modules or anything else like that, they can be hard to kind of to really keep the players moving. It kind of railroads the player to a degree unless you're skilled at kind of going off the rail and trying something different there. I will say, old modules, like the classic D&D modules, were like a one adventure, um, or maybe a two-part adventure. Like one of my favorite one here is I mentioned before, the Sentinel and the Gauntlet. It's a two-part adventure. They have their own maps. They have their own plot behind it here. But basically, this is not meant to be a campaign. This is meant to be an adventure within the campaign. So this can be the building block, a starting point, or something to put in the middle of something there. You get your hands on old modules or short published adventures. That can be really helpful to kind of flesh out in the middle of a campaign, or if you're stuck for something, you can kind of work your way to a module, and then what happens after it. I've done things before where I've strung multiple ones together because they're set in the same world, or I'll say, hey, this happens here, and something you find out here leads you to go to this place. Now you have this adventure over here. So a good source for inspiration can be some of the old modules. or online published adventures or things that people have put out there. There's a lot of people out there publishing or putting out content for full fleshed out adventures. Those can be really helpful for that aspect too. The only only drawback about that is you can only play the same module so many times. I know people have played Curse of Strahd, and that is based off the old D&D Ravenloft game from the 80s. That I played it when I was a kid a little bit. Wasn't my cup of tea, and I've haven't played in the Curse of Strahd game, but I've seen many different games, and they can all have their own spin and their own way of going about it. The campaign is never going to be. You're never going to play the same game exactly the same every time because different people, different players, different characters are going to influence how the story goes. But once you play it, you know who the bad guys are. You know what the overall plot is, and it's hard to separate yourself out if you play that multiple times. So basing games in that world, however, it can be a lot of fun. Where this has happened and now you're doing something else that's related to it or in the same region or someplace else in the same world. It can be really cool as well. So Dad points out here, helpful for your first one shot using a pre-built game, which gives you gives you your NPCs and their maps. Yeah, that's really maps are tricky, and it can be it can be difficult. Having something that has of a meter. I ran in Greyhawk for 2 decades. That's why I have pretty much all of this and most of these modules are actually set in Greyhawk. I've run in the city of Greyhawk. I know it. I know the NPCs. And so I've run multiple campaigns. I put my own places in there, my own NPCs in there. But it's something I did over a long period of time. So when you're first starting out there, having that as something to latch on to, famous NPCs, knowing a little about the world, it's a really great way to go. And the fun thing about that box set, the city box set, there is these little like 1-page adventures, like minding the store. Great little adventure. The PC gets roped into watching the store for a night, and thieves try to rob it in the middle of the night there, and they have to basically get rid of the thieves and find out what's going on with the store. Fun little way to go. In a campaign I was running, the players ended up getting it as a home base because the owner of the shop skipped town because he owed thousands of gold to the Thieves Guild, so he basically just left. Well, the Thieves Guild came to collect in the middle of the night. The PCs were in the place guarding the place, and getting a big fight and having to basically figure out how to pay off the Thieves Guild. And they ended up getting a home base. The shop became their home base for a while in the campaign. Again, a 1-page adventure led to a whole like subplot within an ongoing campaign. That's again that little adventure seed can lead to a lot more. So whether it's going to be a brand new campaign or at least just something in the middle of a campaign to try something out, turn things around to go to a new place, it can be a lot of fun to drive your game in a new direction you may not have been considering before. Any other questions or anything else to bring out there? Um, so yeah, I do recommend using published material when you can. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. The only thing that can be a little bit tricky sometimes is if you're running published material and one or more of your players has already experienced that in a different game. Like I said, running a full campaign setting in like doing Curse of Strahd, chances are somebody in your group has already played it or watched somebody play it or heard about it and knows about it. So the benefit of having your own material is that no one's ever seen it before, so no one can predict how it's going to go. But those published materials are also a lot of fun too. So check things out there. A friend of mine pointed out here that Descent into Inverness, the published setting for D&D there, has some of the best vehicle combat rules in it because there's a whole section of that game that involves getting into big vehicles and having fights and using them and escaping from things and stuff like that. Really cool. Again, those adventures have things you can just take from them as well. So maybe some enemies, maybe some NPCs, maybe some magic item ideas, or some other equipment ideas, or maybe a subset of rules to try out for a different campaign. really fun to check it out there. So yeah, don't when you're looking for inspiration, expand your search to all sorts of things out there. Yeah, well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up there. Um, As always, if you have questions and you want to throw questions out there offline, have ideas for upcoming shows, hopefully we are going to get back onto our every other week schedule again here. We are looking at maybe do some pre-recorded content, so you may see that happen eventually here as well. If we can't schedule something on, keep it on schedule. If we have a pre-recorded show, we'll post that up instead. So we just want to make sure that we have content moving forward there. So, as always, if you have suggestions, if you have just questions that might fuel a new show, throw them my way, either in the comments here or over on Discord. You can send me a message there or drop something in the some of the inspiration I do take from our suggestion box on Tumble Tankard, or just conversations that are happening within the within some of our chat rooms. So um, definitely don't be shy about putting putting suggestions out there for future shows. I'm always looking for more ideas. So with that though, we'll go things wrap things up as always. If you are looking for something new, the Double Taker does have a lot of games, and we're always looking to have more games, new DMs, new players. Come on out and give it a shot. If you want to watch some other content that we've had there's lots of content on our YouTube channel, both with Avarice and all of our other campaigns as well. The Drabraxis games that Sora's running. Some of our other games are posted up there as well. So, including a Trailor game, I believe is happening. A lot of content, a lot of different things are all happening on there. So if you don't see it on there, you can watch it live on our channel or on our Discord server as well. You can always watch games as they're being played there as a spectator. So come out, check it out there, have fun. Links in the description there if you're not already a member of the Discord server. But hopefully we'll see you there and check some new things out for you. And we'll see where things take us. But anyway, thanks again for being here. Thanks for hanging out. If you're watching this now and in the future, I hope you enjoy and get some good information out of today. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. So have fun. Enjoy those games, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.